So today we're looking at being able to identify right angles and side quadrilaterals when we don't see that little square and they're not giving us that information ahead of time. I'm going to admit to you guys right now, this is a much better lesson in person, okay? Because we give you some tools. I'm still going to talk you through some of those tricks and show you on my doc cam some of those things you could do that we would be doing if we were here in person. Unfortunately, that's just not possible right now for us, okay? So there will be probably some mistakes made on today's assignment and in today's lesson because it's kind of hard to do when you don't have the things in person that I wish you had, okay? So just know, I know there might be mistakes and it's okay. I'm just asking that you do your best today, okay? If you could please, one more reminder, turn cameras on for the lesson. I would really appreciate it. Lets me know who's here and who's with us, as well as gives me, a lot of times I ask you thumbs up, thumbs down, that kind of thing. I can't really assess where you are or what you might need help with when your camera's not on. So if you could please turn that on for me if you're in a space, that would be great. Before we start with today's new lesson, we're going to review what are some of the specific names for the quadrilaterals you see on the screen. I realize you might not remember all of those names by heart. So I'm going to show you our chart from yesterday. I'm going to give you 1 minute to look over this chart, and then we're going to go over and I'm going to give you some time to name those quadrilaterals. All right. So your 1 minute to look over the chart starts right now. About 10, 20 more seconds. All right. So now I'm going to ask that on your whiteboard or a piece of paper, if you don't have your whiteboard, you take 2 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer to keep us on track. 2 minutes and write down the name for as many of those quadrilaterals as you can. The most specific name, the best name for each one. Okay. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. And then I'm going to ask you to show me your whiteboards or your paper in those 2 minutes. You will get participation points for showing me. So again, if you don't have your camera on and you don't show me, I can't give you those participation points.
Mr. Hoffman, I do not see my pencil, so I will just re-memorize them.
Okay, do your best for me, please. That's all you can do. One more minute. About 30 more seconds, y'all. All right, y'all. If you could please go ahead and show me your whiteboards and what you wrote down for each shape. You should be showing me what the name you wrote down for each one is. Thank you. I can see CJ's. Thank you. Corbin, I see yours. Thank you, Alex J. Thank you, Cynthia. All right. Thanks, Derek. We're going to go over them now. So I'm going to ask you to share what you wrote down. I'm just going to call on you randomly to share what you wrote down for each one and why you wrote that specific name. CJ, can you tell me what you wrote for number 1? CJ, can you tell me what you wrote for number 1 and how you knew it was that shape or how you knew it was that quadrilateral? CJ is missing in action. Cynthia, what did you write down for number 1 and how did you know it was that quadrilateral?
Rhombus.
Okay, so this one's tricky. All right, and that's actually the point of the lesson today we're going to do and what we're going to talk about. That is a rhombus. That's correct. Why is it a rhombus? What makes it a
Parallel sides.
parallels? 2 sets of parallel sides. And what else makes something a rhombus?
All the sides are equal.
Very good. All the sides are equal, congruent. What you can't tell, and this is the lesson we're working on today, is that these are actually all right angles. It's just rotated. So if those are all right angles, what's the name of that quadrilateral? It is a rhombus. Clay, what kind of rhombus is it?
A right rhombus. I believe it is a right rhombus.
It's a rhombus with right angles. We call that a square, man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a square, right? It's hard to tell because it's rotated. We're used to seeing a square flat, right? But it's not. Alex J, what'd you get for number 2?
A rectangle.
How did you know that that one was a rectangle?
4 right sides.
4 right sides or right angles?
Right angles.
4 right angles. Very good. CJ, what'd you say for number 3?
A rhombus.
Good. How'd you know it was a rhombus?
Because it looks like a diamond.
Well, that is one way of looking at it, but that doesn't exactly tell us it's a rhombus. There's a very specific, what tells us it's a rhombus for sure?
Because it has 4 equal sides, but you can't put right angles.
Very good. It has 4 equal or congruent sides. Number 4 is a little tricky. Corbin, what'd you get for number 4?
Trapezoid.
Very good. How did you know that's a trapezoid?
Because it
What's the difference between a trapezoid and a parallelogram?
that I lost my word.
It's okay. I'm going to ask you a question to maybe help your thinking. How many sets of parallel sides does that trapezoid have? We can probably agree, right, Corbin, that this top side right here and the one on the bottom, those are parallel, correct?
Yes.
Are the other sides parallel?
No.
No, right? They would eventually cross or intersect. So because there's only one set of parallel sides, trapezoid is the best name for that quadrilateral. Number 5, what did you get for number 5, Ying?
Parallelogram.
Very good. Parallelogram. 2 sets of parallel sides, but there's nothing else that is very specific. It doesn't have right angles. It doesn't have all equal sides. It's just a parallelogram. Number 6 is probably the trickiest one. A seal. what did you get for number 6? And if you don't, I'm going to give you a little clue right here. What do you think number 6 is called, Asil? It's similar to number 4, except it has something that number 4 doesn't have. Do you recognize what it is?
Is it a
It's a trapezoid, but it's a specific type of trapezoid. You know what kind of trapezoid that is with the right angle?
So we're just gonna go with that, and with that.
Is it a trapezoid?
It's a right trapezoid, right? There's a right angle in it. All right, the right trapezoid.
Let's go combine this stuff, and then we can finally start heading towards.
So
the
it's very tricky. Some of them, they're very close to each other and what they are, but we have to pay attention. That's why we have to pay attention to every last detail to help us find the very specific names, right? So we're going to look at now a way to identify right angles. So our goal today, Clay, can you read our goal?
Our goal today is to practice identifying right angles and quadrilaterals using different
Strategies, right? So we're going to look at, if I'm looking at a quadrilateral and I don't know what it is because I don't for sure know if it has a right angle, what can I do to say, oh yeah, for sure that does or does not have a right angle, okay? I'm going to show you a way to do it on the computer, and then I'm going to show you a way that you could probably do it at home. But let's look at I have 3 quadrilaterals on the screen. I'm just going to do a quick survey, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm going to number these real quick. So we have 1, 2, and 3. All right. I'm just going to ask you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I want every single person to do this for me. So Derek, turn your camera on. Clay, get in a spot where I can see you. Thank you, sirs. Clay gone. Give me a thumbs up if you think number 1 has right angles. Thank you, Derek, Cynthia, Asil, Alejandro, Alex, and Corbin. The other 2 of you, I don't know. Thank you. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you think number 2 has right angles. There's Clay. He's back. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you think number 3 has right angles as well. So I've got mixed reviews on a couple of those. So let's talk about how to check, because that's a big difference, right? If one of these doesn't have right angles, it's a parallelogram instead of what we would call a square, or it could be a rhombus. So number 1, so the way you can do this is you can take a smaller square, or I'll show you another way later, and you can put that exactly in the angles. And if it is the right angle, that smaller square should fit exactly in the corner where that angle is. So for example, if I drag this down, can I see, is that exactly a right angle? That means it fits exactly in that corner. Does it work? Yes, right? So I'm going to go up to the top. Does it work in that one? Yes. What about over here? Yes. And what about down here?
Yes.
Yes. So that has 4 right angles. So I know that that's a square. I tested it for all the right angles. Right? Now I'm going to go over here. Now here's what's tricky. I can't just put it like this because obviously that doesn't line up. So I have to rotate my small square to see if it works. So I'm going to have to try to line it up exactly with one side. Now I can test it. Does it work down there? Whoops, I slid it a little bit. Might be easier to actually do it on my computer. Does it work down there? Yes. I'm going to try it up here. Does it fit right there in the corner?
Yes.
Yep. What about over here?
Yep.
Yep. What about
Yep.
down here? So that has
Yep.
four right angles. So I know that that is a square. Then I'm going to try it with this one. Sorry, I'm making it a little bit bigger. All right. I'm going to try it with this one. So then I'm going to take my square. I'm going to line it up perfectly with the bottom. And I'm going to check. Does that fit perfectly in the corner?
No, but you could move it to make it.
It's close, right? There's a tiny bit of orange showing, right? Just a tiny bit. So here's the thing. If I rotate it to make it fit the orange on that side, right? And now I move it over here to make it line up with that side. Now there's a little tiny bit of orange on the bottom, right? So that's not a 90-degree angle. And if I take it and move it up here, it overlaps, right? So let me just a second. There's a tiny bit of orange. That's not a 90-degree angle. It has to fit exactly in that corner. So that's not a square. What do I call a quadrilateral with two sets of parallel sides, but it doesn't have any right angles? What do I call that shape? Alex J, what do you think I call that one?
A parallelogram.
Very good. Parallelogram, right? So that's what we're going to look at doing is when I look at a shape or when I look at a quadrilateral, how can I tell that there's a right angle specifically in that, right? You aren't going to have the little tiny squares that you can make on your screens like I do, right? So what you can do though, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to switch it over to my dot cam here. Give me just a second. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm going to turn on my dot cam. All right, can everybody see the quadrilaterals on my desk now right here?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that I was asked, does that quadrilateral I'm looking at, does that have right angles, right? So what I would be giving you if you were in person is one of these little square, transparent squares, right? I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit bigger. There we go. So I would be giving you one of these transparent squares and saying, okay, look at this. And we would take these squares and we would stick them and say, oh, look, yep, that works perfect. That's a 90-degree angle. Let's go down here. Yep, 90-degree angle. Then I'm going to go over to this corner. Yep, 90-degree angle. And up here, yes, 90-degree angle. Obviously, you probably don't have those little squares at home. Some of you guys might be lucky. Maybe you do have those little blocks, but a lot of you probably don't.
I do.
What you might have or what you might be able to use is a Post-it note or an index card or another piece of paper, right? So even though it's a little bit bigger, I can still take a Post-it note and go, yep, that fits perfectly in the corner. It's a 90-degree angle. Yep, that fits perfectly. That's a 90-degree angle. Let's go over here. Yes, that fits perfectly. That fits perfectly. You can use an index card. So this might be a little hard. I'm going to use the line side. So maybe it's a little bit easier to see. I can go, oh, look. Yep, that fits perfectly in that corner. It works. Where it gets tricky is sometimes you have shapes that aren't quite like a square or they're smaller. So if I look at these two down here that are smaller, I can still use a rectangle or a Post-it note or an index card. I just have to be really careful and pay a little bit more attention. So if I look right here, I can see, oh, yep, that does line up perfectly in the corner, right? It overlaps the rectangle, but I'm only looking at where it lines up in that exact corner to see, does it work perfectly, right? And it did. So then if I go down here, it's the same thing, right? It overlaps, but it works. The other thing is I might notice in a shape like this, like if I line it up, see how that completely crosses the line? So I know that that one doesn't work. So when you go to do this at home, you might not have that little square, but you should have paper or a Post-it or an index card. I know we gave all y'all Post-its when you left, right? So you could use those to help you. You might have to do it. It's going to be on your computer screen. That's where it gets tricky. So I'm going to switch back to my other camera here. But you can still take that Post-it note, look at a shape on your screen and go and stick it in the corner and see if it works, right? So that's going to be your job. You can't always just eyeball it. Like a lot of the time you can go, oh yeah, that's definitely a square rectangle. I can tell. But sometimes those rhombuses are really, really close. Or sometimes a parallelogram is really, really close to being a rectangle or a square, but it's not exactly one of those things, okay? And like I said, this would work a lot better in person. I'm sorry we're not here in person where we have all those tools. So we just got to do the best with what we got. Okay, so let's go
I
back.
get
And
19.
we're going to look at some more right here. And all I'm going to ask that you do, hang on, I got to share my screen again, is I want to see everyone participate. All I ask is that you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down for yes, which of these has a right angle. All right, so I'm going to take this little square. Oops. I'm going to take this little square and do it. So I want a thumbs up or thumbs down as to, does this have a right angle, yes or no, based on my little square. Yes or no, does that have a right angle? Thumbs up or thumbs down? So I don't see Ying or CJ. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, thank you. I don't see Derek. Thank you, guys. Yep, thumbs up, right angle. Let's look at this one down here. Thumbs up or thumbs down, right angle. Thumbs down, right? And if you look up at the top, you'll see too that it doesn't fit exactly. It kind of goes over that corner, right? So nope, not right angle. So that one's not a rectangle or parallel or a square. Let's go down to this one. Thumbs up or thumbs down, right angles. Thumbs up, good. Oops, didn't mean to move that one. Let's go down this one. This one's gonna be close. There we go. Thumbs up or thumbs down, right angle. Corbin, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Is that a right angle? It's very close, right? But it's probably like 93, 94 degrees. Remember, a right angle has to be exactly 90 degrees. So nope, that one doesn't work. Before we do this last one, I want you to show me thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think this last one is going to be a right angle? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Do you think it will? All right, let's check. Remember, I got to line it up perfectly. Boom. Yep, it works. Okay. So your job today is going to be able to look at some shapes like that and decide, do they have a right angle? Yes or no? And then based on whether or not they have a right angle, what is their most specific name? All right. So we're going to skip that one. No, actually we'll go back. We have time. So on this page, I want you to take a look at these. I want you to use a square if you need to look at it. And I want you to be able to tell me the most specific name for each one of those quadrilaterals based on whether or not they have a right angle. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I want you to write on your whiteboard what you think the name of each of these is, and I will number them for you now. All right, so 1, maybe. Oh, I got to plug my thing back in. That's why it's not working. So 1, uh-oh. Lovely, my pen isn't working. I hate when that happens. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so 2 minutes. I want you to label what you think each of those is called. If you need to use a piece of paper or an index card or a post-it note, whatever, to check for the right angles, do that. But you're going to name the most specific name. Yep,
I don't
one more
have-
minute.
Okay. Mr. Hoffman, since I don't have a pencil at this time, I texted you my answers in the chat.
Okay, thank you. All right, y'all. Go ahead and hold up that work for me. Clay, thank you for sending it to me in a chat. All right, go ahead and put those down. Corbin, what did you say that first one's called?
A rectangle.
Fire protection.
Very good. That first one's a rectangle. It does have those right angles. CJ, what did you say number 2 is called?
Into the hallway. But the good thing is that spotter really does give you levels super quickly.
A trapezoid.
2 spotters right next to each
Very good. That's a trapezoid. It has one set of parallel sides. Clay, what did you say for number 3?
I said it was a. I got the last name wrong, but if I didn't get it wrong, it would be a right trapezoid.
Very good. Right trapezoid. And that's one where we need to test it, right? If we look, we take that little square and we can test, does it have a right angle? Fits perfectly, so yes. And that last one, Alex J, what'd you say number 4 was?
Rhombus.
Rhombus, very good. All right. I'm going to walk you through what you need to do on your assignment. And just like the last couple of days, I will then let you go ahead and get started on that work yourself. All right. And I'll be here if you need any help. When you get it done, I'm going to ask that you go through and you check. Actually, you've already done math. So I want, when you get it done, I want you to go check. Do you have your vocabulary and word study done? Because there's a lot of people missing that. I only have 10 word studies and 8 vocabularies done. And some of you in here are missing those, okay? So when you finish the assignment, that's what I want you to work on. Before that, I'm going to talk you. So let's go. We're going to open Thursday, and you're going to click on math, right angles and quadrilaterals. And it's a quiz. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Can you guys, I'd probably stop sharing. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one says choose all the shapes below that have at least one right angle. So this is where you might need to take those Post-it notes and you might need to stick them in the corners to see if you think it has a right angle. But you're choosing one. You're going to click all. So if I think A has right angles, I'm going to click A, right? You pick more than one. If I think B does, I'm going to click B. C, I say yes or no. Let's say I pretend I said no. D, I said no. E, I said yes. And F, I said yes. I'm not saying those are the correct answers, but you're going to click more than one. You have to get them all to get your point, okay? Number 2 says, does the shape below have at least one right angle? How do you know? Explain your answer. It's worth 2 points. 1 for telling me yes or no, 1 for your explanation. Then the rest are going to ask you to tell the names of those quadrilaterals, checking for right angles. All right, look for right angles before you give me your answer. Some of them are tricky. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'll be right here. I'm going to mute myself. I will happily unmute and help anyone who says they need help. This is your job. When it's done, make sure you have word study and vocabulary done before you do anything else. All right.
I'll do it right now.
Yep, you're going to go to math and do that. First, you're going to go to math and do the math assignment. When you finish that, if you have extra time, let me know when you finish math. Then I'll let you know what you need to do. Okay.
Also, Mr. Hoffman, have you ever heard of this thing called Contact Keeper?
No, Clay, I've not heard of that.
That's also one of the reasons why you get a lot